Welcome to the Fox's Den. I'm Roxanne and this is my friend Chip, and he will be making his award-winning chili.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
It's been fun to watch your channel grow.
Thank you.
I remember we were sitting at the table behind Roxanne about a year ago and she told me she was doing it. And I thought, good for her. Roxanne is one of those people that gets things done. She makes things happen. So back in the fall, where I live in Provincetown, Massachusetts, I saw a notice on Facebook that the local, one of the local churches was having a chili cook-off. I've never entered a cooking competition in my life, and I really like to cook, and I feel like I am a pretty good cook. So I went online and I registered, and it's with the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House in Provincetown, Massachusetts. It's a beautiful building. If you're ever in Provincetown, you have to see it. It's been there for centuries. Really fine folks go there. I like them a lot. And they had a chili cook-off. It was a Friday night in October. Chili and kale soup because of the Portuguese heritage on Cape Cod, especially in Provincetown. It's an old fishing village. So I entered on a lark, and I entered my Jersey Devil chili. I call it, to honor my South Jersey roots. And I made it really spicy, which I don't usually like, but because I know that spice is what wins sometimes, I threw in the spice. I brought on the heat, as they say. And I was surprised to win both chili awards. I won the best overall, and I won the Townie favorite. I want to tell a little story about both of these awards. In all honesty, the Townie favorite, I was not totally surprised to win. They give you a table, like a 3x3 table. I had my mother's apron on, which I have on right now. I had the elbow macaroni that we'll be talking about later in my grandmother's crock pot. I had a chili pepper wreath all lit up that belonged to my friend Bonnie. And I had a fixins bar, and I had red onions and green onions and pickled jalapenos and shredded cheese and fresh jalapenos, red onions, black olives, sour cream. I know I had 8. I also had paper bowls behind me because they only give out little tasting bowls, and I said to myself, if somebody wants more, I want them to have more. And I also brought a half gallon of milk in case it was too hot. And then I also made corn muffins made with real corn that we'll be talking about later too. So they give you a cup to put on your station, and people get a raffle ticket when they come in. They put it in their favorite, and I saw people putting it in. And my friend Kirby was there, and he said, "I'll make sure I put it in." I'm like, "No, I want to win fair and square." And I saw people putting in, and when they announced Townie favorite, it would be disingenuous if I said I was totally surprised. What I was really surprised at was best overall. There were a lot of good chilies there. There's about 8 or 10 contestants. There was a vegetarian category and a best overall category. And there was a woman who made a really good chili with brisket that I thought was going to win. So when they called me up the second time, I got my second hat and I got my second trophy, and I was a little embarrassed. But now they've changed the rules. Next year, the same person can't win both. Which is fair because it needs to be spread around. So I was really proud of it, really proud that my cooking, people have been telling me I'm a good cook, and again, I'd be just disingenuous if I said I wasn't a good cook. My grandmother cooked in our family restaurant for many years. My mom was an excellent cook. My sister's a good cook. My Aunt Gail, was probably the best cook in the family, and I said that to my mother, so I'm not breaking any she was an adventurous cook. So chili is not something I thought of myself as an expert in, being Italian and the background I come from, because I make a really good red gravy, and I wish there was a red gravy competition around. I would enter that because I have a couple secrets there that I would never give away on camera. And so we're going to make the chili, we're going to make the muffins, we're going to make some buttered egg noodles, and our friend Sally's going to come over later, and it's a good way to spend the Saturday between Christmas and New Year's.
Chip begins his award-winning chili with browning the ground meat with the onions and the peppers.
All right, so we ground browned the ground meat. It's about 1 1/3 pounds. And I got some chopped up onions, the tricolor. There's orange, red, and green, and some onions. You don't want to cook it to death because it's going to cook more, but you also want to get as much fat out as possible. And then you strain it just in a standard everyday strainer, whatever you have on hand. I don't rinse it. I know a lot of people do rinse it. I think that dries it out. So I leave it, I just rinse it, drain out the excess fat. And I use a combo of beef, pork, and veal. I like the ground meat. So we have it here. I'm gonna give it a few shakes. You can see it's still steamy a little. You know, and all that fat is going right down the drain to clog Roxanne's pipes.
That's okay.
All the ingredients for the chili together. And chili, like I said, is one of those things. Everybody's is a little different, but it's all pretty good. So if you like more meat, you put more meat. If you like more tomatoes, you put more tomatoes. If you like a different kind of meat, you put a different kind of meat in. And I'm putting in the beef and the onions and the peppers. Cooked, but not cooked down to nothing. So now I'm adding 4 cans of tomatoes, and that's just a judgment. And I use crushed tomatoes. You can use, and diced tomatoes if you like a little chunkier chili. So I just I'm putting in 4 cans. Basically, I make it based on the event that I'm doing it for, how much meat I cooked. There's no recipe. I've never been a recipe guy, which is why I don't bake a lot, because you have to have a recipe with baking. Or we're gonna make muffins later that I have a nice recipe for. And the chunky tomatoes will give it a nice little chunk. And these are store brand tomatoes, ShopRite from here in New Jersey, Market Basket from where I live in Massachusetts. I'm gonna put this on, because we still have to add the beans and the spices. And when I turn this on, my favorite cooking phrase, low and slow. Ideally, you want to make chili the day before, so the flavors have a chance to marry. When I did the chili competition that I won with my cap, I made it the day before in a big stock pot, put it in the refrigerator overnight, and before I went to work the next day, I put it in a crock pot, and it was ready to go, and I was ready to go. Now we're going to put in the beans. Again, use what you like. I have a variety here. I have light red kidney beans, white kidney beans, dark red kidney beans, and black beans. And you can use anything you want. I'm a purist when it comes to cooking, and that I like everything from scratch. So ideally I would have soaked dried beans, but I'm a realist that people have busy lives and don't have time to be soaking beans and grinding their own meat and milling their own spices. So I'm pouring these out and draining them in the same strainer we did the meat. And I am rinsing these because you want these to be nice and clean. If you take a look, we have a nice variety of color in there. I mean, you're not going to be able really to see a lot of color. So I'm going to pour them in. And I'm going to give them a good stir. And I'm not a spicy guy, but I watch enough Food Network to know that people get eliminated for not bringing on the heat. So I added in the chili 1 can of diced tomatoes that have jalapenos and habaneros. I added hot sliced jalapenos, and I added red ground cayenne pepper. We're not going to do any of that today. But if you like a spicy chili, those are the ways to spice it up. The typical spices in chili are chili powder, cumin, and sometimes smoked paprika. And I'm going to throw that in. That will give it a nice little zing. So again, it's a judgment. There's going to be people that are going to be going crazy saying, look at that guy just pouring stuff in without a measuring spoon. But
That's what real cooks do.
My grandmother cooked in a restaurant, in my uncle's restaurant for over 20 years. And when she was older, we're like, Grandma, give us your recipes. And she's like, there's no recipes. And people still talk to me about the meatballs she made that they can never have again. I'm like, I can't either. And I'm going to put a little bit of smoked paprika, less than I did the chili powder. And the cumin, I'm gonna taste it in a little bit. I'm gonna throw some more chili powder in here because this isn't hot, it just has a nice flavor. In fact, I made a Christmas cookie with chili powder. It was called Mexican hot chocolate cookies. And basically it was a chocolate cookie and you rolled the dough into a ball and you rolled it in chili powder, cinnamon, and sugar. And then it got crackly on top. They were good.
Oh my gosh, that sounds delicious.
They were really good.
That's for a future episode.
Sure. That's what I like best about cooking. For me, it's not very hard. And people are like, oh, this is so good. Like if you can read and drive a car, you can cook pretty well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna raise the heat on this. And then we're gonna check. My mom didn't like chili very much, so when she made it, but she also got that it was easy and cheap. So when she made it, she always made buttered elbow macaroni. So we're gonna have that in honor of my mom. And during the chili competition, I found out there's something called Cincinnati chili, where they serve chili and spaghetti.
Oh.
And so my mom was onto something, or she either heard it or whatever. But so I bought the elbow macaroni. It was half price at ShopRite today.
Nice.
And then we're just gonna let this sit. We're gonna put a lid on it, and we're gonna let it sit. And I guess we'll be back in a little bit to see how it shakes out. And then we're gonna make the muffins. Okay, we're gonna make our cornbread muffins with real corn. And the reason I like this recipe is it doesn't use cornmeal, which a lot of people find gritty. So we're going to use real corn. I'm using crushed cream corn. If you don't like cream corn, because it does have added sugar, you can get a can of regular corn and run it through the blender with the water, and it'll do the trick the same way. So this recipe is pretty simple. It's a cup and a half of flour, and we're going to post this, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a cup and a half of flour, half a cup of sugar, tablespoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of salt, which to me is just pinching, but we'll measure it here. And that's it for the dry ingredients. I'm just going to give them a little stir in this bowl. Now what I did when I made this before, and quite honestly I didn't think of it today, I bought a can of diced green chilies and threw it in and gave it a nice little color and a little zing. But I think today we'll just throw in some chili powder. And then for the wet ingredients, it's pretty straightforward here. Can of the cream corn. Like I said, if you don't like cream corn, use regular corn. Put it through the blender. And after I made this, I was more conscious of the grittiness of cornmeal. I've become a cornmeal snob. Half a cup of milk. 2 eggs. Ordinarily I would crack them in a bowl and make sure I didn't get any shell, but we're among friends here, so. And an eggshell is an organic object, so just mix that in. And usually I like to mix the eggs before I mix it in, so I have to worry about breaking the yolk. And a 1/4 cup of honey, which I would say is optional because a lot of people don't like honey or don't keep it on hand. If I didn't use the honey, I'd probably add sugar, which is what I think I did last time I made this. Again, baking is more of a science, but this is an elaborate cake. It's corn muffins. So I'm going to mix the dry ingredients. Just dump them in here. I know it's just do it slowly, but. So I'm going to mix this up. And we also need to add a 1/4 cup of butter, which is half a stick. And we're going to mix that in. Softened, not melted. People make a big mistake when they melt their butter instead of soften it. Changes the chemical composition. Pretty smooth and creamy. I have now sprayed. Sprayed a muffin pan. I just sprayed it with non-stick cooking spray. People don't think of chili as a Christmas food. You know, we're filming this just a few days after Christmas. But really, when you have a lot of people coming over, everybody loves chili, first of all. And second of all, it's easy to make ahead of time. it's fairly inexpensive, and you'll be the hit, and you won't be making yourself crazy doing this prep for your party. And I'm just going to pour it in. You know, generally the convention for muffins is 2/3 full. It's not the end of the world if they go over or they're a little low. So I forgot to add the chili powder to the batter. So what I'm going to do is just sprinkle it on top. You might not even want to do this. You might want to add some shredded cheese.
That looks delicious.
The diced chilies were a big hit. This smells great.
Smell-o-vision.
Yeah, we need that. I'm sure that's some geek is researching that as we speak. So bake at 400 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes or until golden brown. So we're gonna put this in the oven, and we're gonna take a look at it in 20 to 25 minutes.
Wonderful.
Okay, so our elbow macaroni is done. So I'm just gonna drain it. Same strainer we've been using. The key component to buttered noodles is butter. So I threw half a stick of butter in the pot, the same pot we cooked it in, so it's still hot, and this is a good pot that seems to be retaining heat. Then I'm gonna this has been draining for a few minutes, pour this back in here. And this was boiled in salted water, nothing fancy. Smells really good. And then I'm going to put another half stick of butter. And trust me, I put more than a stick of butter in this before. Depends how buttery, how much butter you have left after all your baking. Stir it up a little. And I'll put a lid back on it. And I'm going to put back on the stove where the oven is on. Keep it warm because we're at least an hour away from eating the chili. So why don't we take another look and see what our chili is doing. Now you can smell the cumin and the chili powder and all that stuff, and it looks a little watery, which is fine.
It didn't. Remember when it first was cooking?
It was very chunky, so we'll take the lid off in probably half an hour. The buzzer just went off. The muffins are done. It's been 25 minutes. And they are beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
So you can see the chili powder on top, and
Oh
they
my
got that little
goodness.
crackle.
Yum.
So we're going to let them cool on a cooling rack for a little bit. Flip them out. And I think the honey will give it a nice sweetness. And we put lots of butter on it. And we'll have it with our chili and our elbows. Let's take a look at the chili. So I took the lid off. It's thickening up. You do get the colors of the peppers,
It's beautiful.
the beans, the red beans, black beans, white beans, light red beans, dark red beans.
It's beautiful.
The key to good chili, among many other things, is the toppings. A lot of people like a variety of toppings. I myself like sour cream, especially if this chili is a little bit on the spicier side because it cools it down. Cheese, of course, is always a winner. You can use any kind of cheese you like. Shredded cheese, they have Mexican cheese with the spicy flavor. You can use Italian cheese, whatever kind of cheese you like. If you like it gooey, I like to put sour cream and cheese and then mix it in, and the cheese gets melty and it looks like cream soup. Black olives is another favorite of mine. But other things you can use: chopped green onions, pickled jalapenos, fresh jalapenos, red onions, and anything that you like. This is not rocket science. It's what you like. If you don't like it, you're not going to eat it. So you have to make it what you like, and sometimes it takes a few times before you realize what you like. Now our chili is still cooking. We have taken the lid off, so it's getting thicker. The elbow macaroni is not simmering, it's sitting with butter melting in it. The muffins are in the oven, and we're waiting for our friend Sally. We're going to have a great our second post-Christmas dinner. We had Christmas dinner together. We went to dinner the night after Christmas. Now we're gonna have chili together to bring in the new year. Okay, so these are our corn muffins made with real corn, no cornmeal, with chili powder on top. What I'm gonna do when we sit down and eat, I'm gonna take my muffin and crumble it up on top of my chili, mix it in with some sour cream and cheese. It's gonna be heaven. So we've gotten our chili. This is our friend Sally.
Hi.
And we have the muffins out of the oven, and we have the buttered egg noodles and the few little fixins. And remember, you can do as many fixins as you like, or as few as you like. What's your favorite thing to put on chili?
Hot peppers.
No, we don't have any of those.
We do actually. You do
No.
have some hot peppers.
And but here we're gonna have our
All right,
party.
go
It
ahead.
was a pajama party. I'm the only one who paid attention to that.
No, I have pajamas on,
I
Okay.
didn't listen as usual.
but I have jammies on. You just didn't see it
Do you
yet.
want another bowl for the? Or are you gonna mix it
No,
together?
I'll just mix it together.
Now, somebody told me that's called Cincinnati chili.
It is, or Cincinnati. It's actually called Cincinnati spaghetti or something.
Spaghetti, yeah, they told me.
That's
they do
it.
Spaghetti, and there's sour cream, cheese, and olives. And I'm going to get a muffin and crumble it over.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so good.
I'm just going to do that. Now, if you look inside this muffin, you can see the corn. And it's not as dry as I thought it was going to be.
No, it looks delicious.
Probably put more butter than the recipe called for.
Yum.
Roxanne, are you going to get some?
I am.